A young boy and his father pulled alive from the wreckage of a building in La Guaira, 4 days after devastating earthquake struck Venezuela. A multinational team, including rescuers from France and the US, combed through debris for 12 hours, aided by search cameras to reach the pair. Responders are racing against the clock to find more survivors in the hundreds of collapsed and damaged buildings in La Guaira. The coastal state, some 40 kilometers from Caracas, was hardest hit. But many residents say they're not receiving enough help and have been left to their own devices without access to the equipment they need to have the best chance of rescuing their relatives.
We want support. We want heavy machinery. We want to take our family members with us. Help us. I'm not the only one in this situation. They're trying to stop us getting near here now. They haven't helped us clear the rubble. In apartment block 22, there are about 300 people, and we've managed to recover about 80, both the living and the dead. We have no choice. We don't have help.
I pulled my daughter halfway out. That truck with the machinery isn't going to move from there. I've nothing to lose. Let them kill me if they want.
We, the relatives of the disappeared, are the ones who are here searching. Because we don't see any security forces. The police do come, but they aren't specialists in searching for the injured and the dead. So they come, take a few photos, and leave.
Volunteers are also making their way to the worst-hit areas to offer their help with rescue and aid operations. But desperate relatives say it isn't enough. They know time is running out to save their loved ones.
Cristina Garcia is a regional director for Latin America and the Caribbean at Save the Children. She joins us from Panama. Cristina, thank you so much for being with us today. First up, can you give us an update on the situation? What are you hearing from your people on the ground?
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for having me. Yes, so the situation remains extremely challenging. I mean, the level of devastation of these two powerful earthquakes is unprecedented for Venezuela. What our teams are sharing with us is that, the image and the search and rescue activities are the absolute priority right now. And the people are shocked. It is a very, very difficult situation. But also, in parallel to the search and rescue activities, many humanitarian needs are emerging. I think the latest figures talk about 200 buildings collapsed, but around more than 700 buildings affected. So we have all these families that need humanitarian assistance, temporary shelter, food, clean water. And we are particularly concerned, of course, about, the well-being of children. We know from other emergencies that children are particularly vulnerable to these kind of situations.
Mm-hmm. So there are multiple crises possibly emerging from this devastating double earthquake. We heard from desperate people in the report just now. They're saying help just isn't getting to where it's needed. Is the system in Venezuela prepared to adequately handle a tragedy, multiple crises of this dimension?
Nicole, I would say that no country is prepared to respond to earthquakes of this magnitude. So the situation is very, very challenging. I mean, 200 buildings collapsed. Can you imagine what this entailed for the people? So, of course, coordination is ongoing. I think response is ongoing. Many different humanitarian organizations, the UN, international NGOs, they are starting to bring assistance, and systems are starting to get in place. We are coordinating with other humanitarian organizations and with authorities to make sure the humanitarian assistance is reaching the most in need. Save the Children, we were already working in Venezuela since 2018, so our teams were there. And that has been also challenging. Our teams were affected themselves by this earthquake, as they are the authorities that are responding and other organizations that are responding to this earthquake. Fortunately, Save the Children teams have been all accounted for, but many, they cannot return to their homes. Either their buildings collapse or they have been affected and it's not safe to return to their buildings. Some others, they have family members missing, but they are, however, responding. So, the first days of a crisis of this magnitude are always very, very challenging.
Yeah, that's very sad to hear. Thank you for sharing that aspect of your work, which remains unseen, as they all just huddle and get out to work. Your organization's main concern, of course, are children. What specific dangers are they facing in the aftermath of these earthquakes?
So many different ones, first of all, they've experienced a very shocking event. So in terms of their well-being and mental health, there are a lot of interventions that need to be made in terms of psychosocial support. But of course, all these families, they have nowhere to go. So temporary shelter, safe drinking water, food, and specifically, for the well-being of children, protection. We need to make sure we're working with the authorities to prevent any type of, additional risk that children can experience in this type of emergencies.
A lot of people are at home watching, listening to what you're telling us, listening to, the report that we saw before you came on. They're wondering what they can do. They want to do something. How can they help?
So, my advice would be to work through the organizations that are already in Venezuela, that are already on the ground, trusted organizations. Save the Children is one of them, but it's not the only one. We have, you can go to our webpage, www.savethechildren.org, and there you can find how you can support the work we are doing and more information about our response. We are putting together a response focus on protection and health, and that would be my advice. Work through the organizations that are already on the ground and supporting this response, because they trusted organizations that are already on the ground. That would be my main advice.
Cristina Garcia from Save the Children, thank you so much for the important work you and your team are doing, and all the best, of course, to your team on the ground and their loved ones.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.